Pule Mabe has stepped aside from his position as an ANC NEC member while awaiting his court case. This follows the release of him and 6 co-accused on 30,000 rand bail. The case against former National Assembly Speaker, meanwhile, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, has been postponed until December 5, 2024. The defense has informed the court that they have not been granted access to certain sections of the docket, which is hindering their ability to proceed with the trial. So let's bring in now legal analyst Melusi Xulu. He joins us now to unpack the developments in the fraud and corruption cases of the former ANC spokesperson Mabe and, of course, the former National Assembly Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Xulu. Let's start perhaps with the former National Assembly Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula's case then. Perhaps expand on the reasons behind the postponement. We earlier heard that it was due to an application she then needs to file for disclosure of certain parts of that, part B and C, I think it was.
To you, Nat, and to the viewers at home, thank you for having me. Well, basically, this is what happens when you have a case. You get contents of the docket or copies. So what you usually get, you get Part A. Part A usually contains what the witnesses are saying about your case, or the expert witnesses, or documentary evidence, and so forth. So that's usually generally what you get. But when it comes to Part B, it's basically internal aspects of the case, which are amongst maybe the detectives and the prosecutors, and Part C is the investigation diary. So usually when we are defending, we usually don't ask for that because sometimes Part A is enough. But if you want more and you need more clarity, you have a right to ask for that. There has been case laws that has allowed that if the matter is taken to court or to get access to that. So the reason for postponing is that the former speaker just wants everything on her table so that she can be able to defend herself. That's why the matter was postponed.
It was, of course, her first time appearing then in the High Court, and as they, lead towards the main trial, it does seem that the judge was quite annoyed, by certain applications not being made prior. Are these then related to this particular application?
Yes. Before the matter is postponed to a different court, in this case in particular to High Court, you usually get all your documents in district courts, if it's still in district courts, which is a lower court. And if you have any representations to make, you make those representations at that court. I'll give you a current case, which is a clear example. In the case of, I think there is a case that was postponed for representation in the same court in Palm Ridge. So you make those issues in the district courts, and then you're able to postpone the matter in High Court when all issues have been resolved.
Let's now move on to the Mabe and the 6 other accused case. I mean, they've now been granted bail. He's since stepped aside as ANC NEC in accordance with the ANC's policy. Just looking at what transpired this afternoon, I mean, to what extent did the state not opposing bail in this case and the fact that the accused handed themselves over to the Hawks before this court appearance, to what extent does this then play in the court's decision to grant them bail?
Okay. I think if I must express this, well, I would like to express it anyways. I believe that when it's high-profile individuals or high-profile cases, inverted commas, usually the bail application is usually not postponed for 7 days and so forth as per procedure. Not that it must be postponed for 7 days, but you usually feel that they are treated with soft gloves or, with some favors. But anyways, I think that's how bail should be done, where it's proven that you're not a flight risk, your address has been verified, you will not interfere with state witnesses, and it shows that you are not a person who will interfere with the bail system or do anything that is wrong, especially if you don't have previous cases that have been convicted or you've been convicted of. So I think the reason why they were given basically that they are not flight risk. But I'm just saying, you know, on just as a note, that sometimes when it's just usual people who are not high profile, the matter is usually postponed for 2 weeks or so, or for 7 days. But when you say it's a high profile person, you just come in the morning and you get bail. So I usually see that, you know, all animals are equal, but they are not equal as it is, you know. But basically, in bail, if you're not a flight risk, you usually get bail, and that's what happened today.
All right. Let's unpack then, you know, the seriousness of this particular case when looking at the charges that are related and in connection with this 27 million rands tender to his company, Pule Mabe. I mean, this tender was meant to benefit and empower waste pickers in the Ekurhuleni Metro primarily. How would the state then go about this particular matter, just given that earlier on we heard how the prosecutor was arguing that Pule Mabe did in fact not declare his links to this company when he was MP, and he should have, as it relates to the Code of Ethics rules?
I think it's something that I'm not saying all politicians are doing, but it's something that the politicians who are in high positions are usually doing, where they would you know, have companies that are created that are linked to them, but they will not disclose, and then they'll be able to get, you know, some way of influencing how the tender should go. So it's what most politicians are doing. It's obviously corrupt and it's wrong. But at the end of the day, you know, I as a defense attorney, usually I will say, maybe let us look at the whole case when it's done in trial, because today was not a day for a trial. It was a day for a bail application. So it was not that important what the state is saying for now, but what was important was, do they deserve to get bail? But for the purposes of a trial, obviously the matter will then have to be dealt with at trial, and it will have to be proven beyond reasonable doubt whether there was some corrupt activities from a criminal perspective.
Is this one of those cases that will perhaps take months, if not years?
Yes, it possibly will. It depends on the number of charges, depends on the number of witnesses, and it depends on the technicalities that the state has to have in order to prove their case. So if that is a lot of evidence that the state has to prove, it might take years. But we've seen in these cases, Unati, where first, before the matter is tried, they usually want to make representations, and I suspect that before the matter is postponed to a high court, if it will be done in high court, there might be a representation that might be made. But let's see what the defense will do in terms of their strategy.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. Melusi Xulu is a legal expert there for us, just giving analysis on those two prominent cases that we are following for you in court. In fact, at the back of the outcome of that bail condition that was granted in the Pule Mabe case, he has since stepped aside as ANC NEC member, as it is our breaking news story of the hour.